Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and yet again, we have more cards announced that are being reverted for Wild. All cards that are rotating in Wild are pre-existing in Wild. We've already gone through 6 classes, and the last 3, Alec Dawson has let us know on Twitter what will be reverted, and that's Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. So let's go over that. There are some absolutely busted cards on this list, so pretty interesting stuff. Again, the Wild meta will definitely be shaken up, and tomorrow, as you can see on this tweet, he said they'll announce the neutral, so we'll have a video finishing up all the reverted cards tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. Hit that sub button to get notified of when that goes live. By the way, we hit 23,000 subs. Thank you guys, you're insane. Thank you so much. Anyways, let's take a look at what broken stuff is being unnerfed. So starting off with Shaman, this is probably the biggest deal of all the classes. There are 5 cards being reverted, and they are like ridiculous. So starting off with Spirit Claws at 2 mana, going back to its original cost at 1 mana. It was basically a 1 mana better War Axe. You played it on 1, you totemed on 2 into spell damage, or played Blood Mage, and you just won the game. And well, that's not really a thing anymore because, well, they're changing the Shaman hero power, right? It will no longer give spell damage totems. So Spirit Claws only as good as the spell damage minions made. We do have that new 1-drop added to the core set, which does synergize very well with this, but it's got to be a pretty big build around thing, and unless the spell damage totem is around, I can't see this revert doing a lot of work. And as far as I understand, the spell damage totem will only exist in classic mode, not Wild. So Spirit Claws, I don't think will have a major impact, but if there's ever like really prominent spell damage stuff, even with like, you know, Primordial Studies, for example, we have here, I still don't think it's enough to really make Spirit Claws a meta card in Wild, but it's close. It could see a bit of play, but yeah, if the totem was there, it certainly could pop up, especially in Odd Shaman. It would be ridiculous. Next, we have the Galakron Shaman cards. All of them, pretty much. We have Corrupt Elementalist. It's 6 mana, going back to 5, the only card to basically corrupt twice. So you play this, you immediately activate your Dragon's Pack. You automatically upgrade your Galakron, and you get 2/2/1 rushes on turn 5. It's very powerful, lets you dictate the board, and it just was insane when it came out. It's going back to 5, and I remember when Galakron Shaman was completely unnerfed, it was like, it felt like a tier 1, tier 2 deck to me in Wild. I hit Legend with it in Wild at the peak of like degeneracy of all things, with like a 70% win rate. My friend Frobro did the same thing. It was a very good deck unnerfed, and Corrupt Elementalist being unnerfed, I think will be significant. I think Galakron Shaman can be a big deal in Wild, especially with this card, Spirit of the Frog. People didn't really understand and utilize the power of this card until later, until the list got further refined. And with all these cards being unnerfed, we'll talk about the other 2. I think Galakron Shaman's back, and Corrupt Elementals is a big part of that. Being able to invoke twice in turn 5 is very powerful. Yes, Wild is very fast, and yes, a Dark Lair Warlock deck is probably going to lock something out like this. But other than that, I think it can do very well. And let's get into more of the Galakron Shaman cards. We have Invocation of Frost, going from 2 mana to 1 mana. Again, this synergizes incredibly well with Spirit of the Frog. This was what really fueled that deck. You would play your Invocation of Frost, it could go into like a Maelstrom Portal or Devolve, or you could play Ancestral Knowledge, or just something like some card draw into Farsight, into whatever 3 mana spell you want, into Hex, whatever. Like, there's so many different implications of this card. This is also incredibly powerful. At 2 mana, it was brutally bad. 2 mana to freeze and get a 2/1 rush, awful. 1 mana, incredibly powerful, and this card being back alone is what makes Galakron Shaman, to me, feel like it can be a player again in the Wild meta. And we'll leave it off with Dragon's Pack. Dragon's Pack is reverted. It gave +2/+2, and now it'll give +3/+3 again. Very powerful. The 1 more health makes a big deal. Getting those 5/6s rather than 4/5s helps a lot. Back in when this happened, it was like, oh, it dies to Kronks. Well, that's bad, but you don't really see Kronks in Wild, but still. Getting that on curve, being able to get it out a lot earlier because Corrupt Elementalist is unnerfed. You got 3 very powerful cards all being unnerfed at the exact same time in a deck that in Wild that can utilize cards like Spirit of the Frog and whatever other additional synergies have been made since that we're not even thinking about, because, well, this deck's been nerfed for a year. So I like playing Galakron Shaman. I thought it was fun. It was way too powerful. It was ridiculous. It was one of the most broken decks in Hearthstone history, as I probably alluded to in the title. But I'll be very excited to play it. I like playing it with Spirit of the Frog, and I'll try and make it work in Wild. I think it's really cool that all these are being reverted. If they're reverting a lot of these other cards, then Galakron Shaman absolutely should have been reverted, and thumbs up on that. And the last Shaman card to kind of get reverted, and I alluded to this with the Mana Worm one a couple videos back, is Flame Tongue Totem. Was a 3-mana 0/3, is now a 2-mana 0/2 rather than a 0/3. So almost back to normal, but yeah, it's a little bit more fragile. Very big deal. They plan on bringing this back into standard at some point, or maybe there'll be a card that can generate, like produce this, like Wormweaver, for example, with Mage, right? And the big deal with this deck, of course, is, well, Totem Shaman, but even Shaman can use Flame Tongue Totem again. And this makes every single board for Totem Shaman, or even Shaman, like a threat. Every single board now, because Flame Tongue is automatically +6 damage at any point. And you already have Totemic Surge, which is never seen Flame Tongue Totem, and even Shaman. Maybe even Shaman's back on the map. We've already seen seen Draenei Totem Cover being buffed to a 4 or 5. Like, there's a lot of implications here. And yeah, even Shaman hasn't really been that meta lately, but they're getting some good stuff and might see some significant play, especially with Flame Tongue returning. Warlock, on the other hand, my goodness, they didn't get a heck of a lot. The only Warlock card I predicted that would get unnerfed is the only card they unnerfed, Fiendish Rites. It's now back to 3 mana. This card has never been a thing in Wild. Galakron Warlock has never been a thing in Wild. This will not make a single difference. And rather than going in depth about this, because there really isn't, the card that surprised me that they didn't revert is Possessed Lackey. I'll just mention that card that, I mean, Void Color feels too slow these days at 4 mana, and Possessed Lackey not getting reverted, and maybe something like Dark Pact would have been really cool to revert. I understand they don't really want to like help out classes that are already doing well in Wild, but the demon cheat strategies aren't really the decks that are thriving outside of cheating out Molten Giants and Flesh Giants, right? Like, I would have been okay with probably a Possessed Lackey, a Dark Pact getting reverted, because those are pretty cool cards, and it would be fun to play them again at their original strength. But as it stands, it's literally only Fiendish Rite. So Warlock, you don't get a lot to work with, but you already get Dark Lair Warlock, Reno Lock, and I guess Q Block's pretty good. Discard Warlock. Warlock will be fine, but it would have been kind of cool to see maybe a couple of other cards getting unnerfed. And lastly, we have Warrior, which has 3 cards being reverted. One quite surprising, actually 2 quite surprising. Let's get into the first one. Scion of Ruin is going back to 3 mana. This card's already really good at 4. It sees play in Wild. Galakron Bomb Warrior is a legitimate like tier 2, tier 3 deck. And now it just gets better. Scion of Ruin goes to 3. Really powerful card. 3 mana, 9/6 in Rush. Yeah, why wouldn't you play that? That's insane. So it's going back. Will that make Galakron Warrior that much better? A little bit. Why not? And Galakron Bomb Warrior gets a little bit better, and the card's just really solid. Am I against reverting this? Not at all. It's just very surprising that a card that's ridiculously good gets even better, but it's Wild, and this seems to be their new experimentation with Wild. Let's just revert a bunch of stuff. So Sign of Ruin at 3, really good, and we'll see what happens. Next is Bloodsworn Mercenary, was a 3/3. It was nerfed to 2/2. It's back to 3/3. Literally did nothing. That nerf did almost absolutely nothing. So why not revert it? And I was like, why are they reverting Blood Boil Brute? That was the same thing. It did nothing. And then, oh yeah, it's Ashes of Outland. So that'll be next year. But yeah, Bloodsworn Mercenary sees a little bit of play in Wild with like some ETC combos, but it changes absolutely nothing. The body barely ever matters. And why not revert it? The nerf was pointless. You might as well revert it and just make it a 3/3. It's totally fine. And last, and this is like the biggest one in my opinion for Warrior, is Charge. Charge actually gives minions charge. What a novel concept. Yes, it no longer gives like this weird quasi rush effect. It's back to 3 mana, back to +2 attack and charge. Raging Worgen OTK is back, except you don't really need that when you got Crab Rider. You can just give Crab Rider charge, and it's cheaper. And well, you could do the charge combos again, and very non-interactive and very spectacular. Should lead for some crazy times. Is it too slow for Wild? Absolutely, most likely, but it'll lead to some pretty cool decks, some pretty cool moments, and it actually, the name of the card makes sense, and it's wild. You already have all the charge means like Leroy Jenkins, and, well, can we get Stone Test Boar back? Oh wait, Questroke's coming back. I don't know about that. Anyways, Charge is back. It'll be really cool. I'm excited. I want to play some Charge Warrior. I definitely will be, and I'm going to make some fishy boys go Wind Fury and go Smork, and it'll be spectacular. So that's all the reverted class cards. Yeah, tune in tomorrow where we'll go over all the neutral cards, assess how they'll impact Wild. And again, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.